movie time with John DeSando and his friends online. So everything is gonna be just fine. From the top down to the bottom, he's gonna let you know if you should stay home or if you should go. Might even yell if it's a spectacle. From San Francisco to Long Island, 'cause nothing's better than a motion video.
It's Movie Time is produced and hosted by John DeSando. Listen to broadcast shows Fridays at 4:01 and 8:01 p.m. Read reviews and listen to shows online at WCBE.org.
I'm John DeSando,
And I'm Mary Yerina.
and this is It's Movie Time. And Mary, would it be fair to say that in the movie Rental Family that we're talking about today, it's really about a sweet soul? Is that the way you read him?
Well, certainly the character of Philip, played by Brendan Fraser, is cast as part of a rental family as a sad American,
Yes.
which I actually felt, based on the lead-in of his character to that moment in the film, was an accurate description. So
Yes.
I would say more sad American.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm beginning to think that Brendan Fraser is a sweet soul.
But he does ultimately redeem himself as a sweet soul.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And we'll talk more about him later on in the show, maybe about his filmography, which is certainly a varied filmography, but he's an Oscar winner. And
He is, for The Whale.
Yeah, for The Whale, and I think, I don't know, this might have been a better role even for him.
Well, the writer and director Hikari, who's a Japanese-American woman,
Yeah,
actually saw him in The Whale and
Ah.
decided that he was the person she needed for the role of Philip. And she didn't even know him, as is often the case in these situations, and so she reached out to his agent and asked if he would read the script.
Mary, the story, is this a fabulous story or what? I mean, is this real?
It is actually real. The director and her co-writer spent a lot of time researching this, because she's now based here in the United States after having moved here for college, I think at age 17. And they found out it was real and had that same question, this cannot be real
Yes.
in Japanese culture. But it turns out that loneliness is an epidemic, and discussing issues of mental health or challenges you may be having in your life are not as pronounced, prominent, accepted in the Japanese culture. And so they spent several years researching this, interviewing people who work in the rental family business, and were inspired to make this film.
He plays a sad actor.
Sad American actor
Right.
trying to make a career in Japan,
Right.
where he had one early success as this toothpaste
Toothpaste
man
hero.
superhero, which they show us, and by our cultural standards, it's pretty cheesy, but it was made him famous in Japan briefly, and people still remember the commercial. But he's struggling as an actor to get roles and parts, so he gets a call from his agent and is offered a role to show up the next day as a sad American, and it turns out that it's a funeral for someone who, for whatever reason, they wanted a sad American in
Yeah.
a group of mourners
Yeah.
at the funeral.
The corpse was real. Was that just a fantasy of the corpse getting up and?
No, that was true, because
Was it a stand-in corpse? No.
no, he really, it was a man who really wanted to see that his life was worth living, and so he held this funeral.
That makes sense.
That he wanted all these mourners at, and he wanted mourners to express, he wanted to hear what mourners had to say about him to validate that his life is worth living. So that's Philip's introduction to Shinji, who owns and operates this company called Rental Family. And
It is so odd.
leads to Philip being hired to play basically 3 additional roles. And the first role, he almost doesn't do it. He goes into hiding on the site of where this role is supposed to take place. But ultimately, he ends up doing it.
Yes.
He sees the redeeming quality of being able to help people and is hired for 2 more roles, which really become the focus of his story and his development and his redemption as a sweet soul.
And while the funeral one is kind of amusing, and when we're right there with them, we're Americans right there with us saying, can this possibly be real? And so he decides to go back, and he does. The most poignant one would be with a young girl.
I thought they were both very poignant. He's hired to play the father of a young girl, unbeknownst to the girl, who was wonderful. Sharon Gorham played the role. She was fantastic. I think she's 8 or 9 years old.
I think the girl is supposed to be 11, but she is an actress.
Yes, and she's based out of Japan, and she was wonderful. And so she doesn't know her father. Her mother wants to get her into the right school.
I love that part.
And needs a father to do that. And so he's hired to play Mia's father for 3 or 4 weeks leading up to.
And Mia does not know.
And Mia does not know.
Okay.
And then the other job he's hired for simultaneously is a very famous aging actor in Japan who has dementia. His daughter has hired Rental Family to have Philip play a journalist interviewer because her father is worried that people will forget him and forget his legacy.
I love that part where he says, "I want to." When he asks our Philip to take him to his old residence, he doesn't want to be forgotten, right? He wants to do it before he forgets.
That's what he says.
Yeah.
Yes. Before he forgets, he wants to visit his childhood, basically his childhood home.
Yeah. And this becomes the part of the dangerous part, that Philip could be accused of kidnapping this older
Right.
guy, and so it's a bit of an adventure.
It is it's a quest, and it's an adventure, because at that point in the film, Philip has been transformed because he's not just playing these roles and walking away. He genuinely wants to help these people and sees the value in the rental family business. But they also the filmmakers show the dark side in that a female member of the rental family team is rented to represent the mistress and apologize to the wife.
Whoa,
yes. They show a couple of those scenes, and one of which she actually gets physically abused as part of her punishment for being the mistress. And so there's a little bit of a dark side that's explored as well about these types of situations.
And wouldn't many American men prefer to have this happen?
Well, I hope this film doesn't give them any ideas.
I know, ideas. I know, renting their mistress. This is,
Well, not renting their mistress, I assume, but renting the woman to represent their mistress to apologize to their wife.
Thank you. Yeah. Yes, and it really takes the heat off of it, but it really is one of the funny parts. This is not a comedy in the sense that we have,
but there are charming, amusing moments.
And I think it's a good word. I think it is charming. The old man. I thought that this was. You may be right. It may even be more poignant. I just thought that the little girl, when it comes to her facing the reality, I thought this was a very good part. But the old man, I thought was very, very tender, and I thought it brought out something in Fraser as an actor that made me really a fan of his. That low key, and maybe the sad part, but as he gets to be happier.
Well, you learn, when you're watching the opening of the film and you're following the character of Philip from an audition back to his apartment, and the film is shot entirely on location in Tokyo. Most of us, when we think of Tokyo, we think of the high-rise, neon, millions of people, very glitzy, very glamorous images of Tokyo, but he rides a very crowded train back to his apartment. We assume it's somewhere in the suburbs on a narrow, older developed street. His tiny apartment overlooks all these other apartments across the way, where he's seeing all of these people who are connected somehow. Like one scene has a young couple with a baby, another scene shows an older couple. So there are people he sees out his window who have families. And we learn through the course of the film that he's been in Japan for 7 years. He did not go back to the funeral of his father, who died in his absence while he was in Japan. And so it definitely strikes the chord of Philip is a very lonely,
Yes.
lonely individual. And through the course of Rental Family, he genuinely connects with Mia and with the older gentleman. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to pronounce
Kiro.
his name if you
Right.
want to give it a try.
Kiko is the, Akira Imoto, I
Is-
think is the name,
okay.
is the actor's name. Well, Mary Yerina, the movie is Rental Family. If people want to hear more, and they always want to hear more from you, less from
Well,
me.
more from you.
More from you, and they'll have to go to our podcast, which in this case is Back Talk.
Mhm.
They go to WCBE, Podcast Experience, and they'll find it. Mary, what do you suggest to our audience?
Well, similar to Sentimental Value, this is a very character-driven film, and it's a small independent film. Although I didn't think it was great, I do think it's a very good, enjoyable film, and worth a trip to the theater if you want to make those connections.
It's movie time with John DeSando and his friends online. So everything is gonna be just fine. From the